This week on the Agents to Owners podcast, I'm excited to welcome Mark Flockhart to the show. Mark has an extensive history with insurance. He just recently started Valor Insurance Group in January 2022. In addition to this scratch agency, Mark has three active YouTube channels. And this is where I first found Mark. I've been following Mark for years on YouTube. He has one of the biggest and best, in my opinion, YouTube channels out there. So I'm excited to learn about that. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to connect with you. Like I said, I've been following you for a couple of years. You put so much great insurance content out there in a variety of different areas, and it's all educational. So it's not just, you're not just teaching, coverage. It's kind of content for agents, for anybody that wants to learn about insurance. We were just talking about, I know on one of your channels, you're kind of your prime educational channels where you have nearly 19,000 followers. So that's pretty impressive, I think, for an insurance channel. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. But to start, why don't, like we always do, why don't you give us a background on Mark and how you got into the insurance business and bring us up to the date?
Yeah, absolutely. Try to summarize as quick as possible. It's a 12 and a half year career,
Yeah.
so it's been a while. Kind of fell into insurance by accident. My sister was applying at a job, said it was perfect fit for me, and so I applied, and apparently I was a fit because they hired me within like 5 days. So interviewed, got licensed, did all that stuff. It was at a company called Farmers, which was a sub brand of them called 21st Century. So we got plugged in. We were basically a high level call center where we took in just every inbound lead they could feed us. And we literally could hang up the phone and there was another phone call. So it was a lot of just churning leads in and out and working with a 5 to 20% conversion rate depending who you were. Right. So
Yeah.
there was a lot going on.
Which, talk about cutting your teeth in the insurance business. I mean, basically being
Yes.
in, that's, as we were talking about, that's a really interesting introduction to the business. You're in sales, you're purely in sales. So you
Yes.
only really work with
100%.
that aspect of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that if you didn't have the sales background, you were just not hitting they had 10 tiers, you wouldn't even hit level 1,
Yeah.
right? If you didn't know, like, understand on the phone, like, what people are thinking, what they're doing, if they're paying attention to you, if they care about things, like,
Mhm.
those pieces that you start to pick up from a day-to-day conversation. It's a lot different when you don't see their actions and their movements. So you start to learn, okay, how do I get the best out of these calls? And coincidentally, that's just what I did really well with. So it that turned into a pretty good career, and then they pivoted. The whole company of 21st wasn't as profitable as they wanted. They were just spending a little bit more than they thought, and so they turned it into us becoming farmers agents just virtually. So we essentially no pay for it, but we we were the virtual version of a farmers agent, and we started selling the home and the auto and not just the single line products. And that really opened up our eyes to being more focused on the value of a customer, right?
Yeah.
What value are we giving? And there was a little bit of training into that where that kind of opened my eyes and I started researching more of it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of honestly where that Think brand, where if you go to YouTube, the Think Insurance brand started was because I was
Mm.
curious and wanted to talk about it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
from that, I left the farmers company and I was a work at home guy there at the time and went into an independent agency. And I spent a few years there, got a little bit more into management style. So I ended up doing sales for the first year and a half to 2 years and then started managing a team,
Mm.
started working with what we call lead aggregators, where the people outbound call at 500 dials a day, like another churning thing. Like I
Yeah.
managed that team of people and just tried to make sure we were getting leads to our agents, and then just kind of ended up running a big chunk of an agency. Then I realized there was a lot of confliction between the what I thought was ethical, what they thought was ethical. Like there's different, like hiring and firing and all of the. So naturally, the next fit was to start my own. So I
Yeah.
partnered with a credible guy. I've got a great partner, and we basically run the Valor Insurance brand
Okay.
today.
So when you decided to go independent, um, which is such a big learning curve, what did that, as far as to get carriers and to work with to gain markets. What did that look like for you? Did you seek out a network to work with? Did you get direct appointments? How did that work?
We interviewed networks. We did ultimately go with the network
Okay.
at the moment. So we are part of a network. We really looked for a couple different things. And that's kind of one of the videos that I made is like finding the right network that's a fit for you. So our main
Mm.
focus was okay, can we get into a company that has no restrictions, that has a cap on how much we pay them, that has no exit fee in case we're not a fit for each other, all of those things. And those were the main things that we were looking for is okay, how much commission can we take in? Because they're going to take a piece of your business, at least to a point. If you're with a good network, the other
Yeah.
network just never cap it and you pay them $1 million a month and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff. You got to kind of, as you start researching networks, we started doing calls with networks and like talking to different ones until we ended up where we're at today. Hindsight, I really wish we would have done similar to what you've done is just go direct to the companies. I know it probably would have been a lot harder of a struggle because getting those appointments
Yeah.
are tougher. The benefit, which I didn't realize at the time, was that I already had the connections with some of the networks, with
Yeah.
some of the agencies, because the flow of workload, if you're in an agency that doesn't have enough funds to pay for someone to do things, falls down to people. And I was one of those guys that had 5 jobs at that last agency.
Mm.
One of those was working with some of the networking, the recruiters and the people with those agencies, those companies.
Yeah.
So I've kind of already sub built a relationship with
Mm.
them, which ended up benefiting us a little bit.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough to go because if you don't have markets, you don't,
Yeah, you've got to be
you got to
competitive, at
strength.
least to
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah. You can't just sell progressive.
Yes,
So you if you can't get markets, you have to go the network route. Um,
exactly.
Even though you've had an extensive background in insurance, and of course, I guess it really did help that you were in an independent agency for a while. What's that learning curve? And you're probably still going through it. It's really just been a year of being truly on the independent side.
The biggest thing is like that shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
We, as most independent people, have like an entrepreneurial mindset. So we want to try like, what's the secret? What's that sauce that's going to make us better than the other agency? We found the secret right away, but then we still got distracted with a lot of different things. So the secret is honestly, in my opinion, is the old style model, which is take care of the customer,
Right.
give them value, and that's 90% of your day right there,
Yeah.
right? So if you can focus on that, then you're just going to make it either way, right? And
Right.
and be able to afford to feed your family and all that stuff on the side.
Yeah, part of it, what I hear other, especially scratch agents say is that when you go independent, then you're truly independent. So now you have to determine what you want for a management system, and if you
Yes.
want a CRM, and what phone system is going to be best. So a lot of that is, there's a lot of decision making up front, um,
Yep.
and it's a lot at one time. Again, with your background, probably not as difficult as what some others had, but you do have to go through it.
Still a lot to do. Yeah, getting your license, getting the agency licensed, getting the LLC put together, or whatever corporation you're going to do. Getting all of those pieces put together, talking to carriers, because even though you join a network, you still have to present your plan or your model to the insurance carriers. So
Yeah.
you don't instantly just get the access for free. So there's different pieces that you've got to do you're almost doing the same things you would do if you're on your own anyways. So,
Okay.
but now you've got a backing behind you,
Yeah.
right? And I think the biggest thing, like you said, CRM, the customer relationship management software, or whatever, that's super important. So we spent a lot of time focusing on that, probably almost too much time. And we tried 5, 6 of them,
Yeah.
and found we actually honestly didn't even find one we like.
Yeah.
So it's like we started building our own, but now we're not selling. So you got to remember, like that's finding that happy medium is we're all focusing on the technology and the shiny things that we need. Where if I would have just
Correct.
grabbed a Rolodex and started calling people, I probably would be an extra step ahead today. But it's a little different. It depends on what you're doing because we're trying to build a lot larger of an agency
Mm.
versus a lot of people are just trying to be them with 2 salespeople, right? For that person, they don't have to focus as much on what we're thinking is more future stuff. How can we set it up processes, standard operating procedures. Everything's laid out. So if so-and-so's sick, we know exactly what to do next. All of those pieces that you wouldn't normally think about if it was just you and two guys or
Yeah.
girls or whatever.
Oh, you're speaking my language now. Um, so I want to hear about this. So, how are you? What is your plan to grow to be a larger agency? What does that look like from a marketing standpoint? And then, to bring on producers and support people. What's your vision for all that?
It's very aggressive. So we want to be within about 5 years. We want to have between, it's kind of a large range, but at minimum of 30 agents.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of investing and a lot of growing to do, and a lot of standard procedures that we have to follow. Otherwise, everyone's just doing their own thing. So we are going in a very aggressive route because we want to first. My philosophy is you own your backyard before you own anything else.
Got it.
So
Yep.
our main focus is branding in our city. So we're in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We want to be obnoxiously advertising,
Yeah.
which we aren't today because we can't afford it yet. Like we've got to build up to that. So we can afford some things, but we've got to grow into it. So eventually, within 3 to 5 years, we do want that commercial at the movie theater for 30 seconds that costs us way more than we'll get back. Right. So, like, we want all of those pieces to be like, this is Grand Rapids. If you have insurance, it's Valor Insurance. That's who you go to.
Yep. Like
That's
it.
kind of the long term play, as far as that. And then obviously, we've got to put into place to where my partner and I will eventually, because today we work in the business as much as we work on the business.
Yep.
So we're selling as well. We've got a little bit lower of a requirement, but we're still we got to hit numbers, right?
Yeah.
So we're doing the systems and doing the dials and doing the things with our guys. We just hired our second guy, which starts Thursday. So it's it's starting to grow.
Yeah. Uh, Touched on your standard operating procedure and processes. Are those all written out already? Where are you with putting those together?
It's half and half. Some of them are living in our heads,
Yep.
and that's the hardest part is getting them on paper.
Yep.
So that's one thing we constantly are telling each other: write it down, write it down, write it down. If you do it, then write it down. Not only just the operations of procedure, but maybe there is a problem that we can automate later,
Yeah.
right? Things that we can bypass by not doing certain tasks that we don't have to do.
There's the challenge is there's only so much time in one day.
Hmm.
And as you alluded to earlier, you spend all this time on the processes and you're not selling
Yes.
and you're not, I mean, but that is the juggling act that we kind of all go through and the different hats
Yes.
that we wear. So it's time management is massive. And with your aggressive growth goals, which I love, you have to be good at time management and probably time blocking if you want to get all these things done.
Yes.
So, have you used Tango at US at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so that is I can't speak to it extremely well. It's basically a software, like a Chrome extension that will track the page that you're on. So if you wanted to go through a process and make kind of a training out of it, it'll go through the steps. So if you wanted to go through a steps of making a change in progressive or doing a quote, whatever you wanted to do, it will basically screenshot each screen that you go through. It's a good
Oh, okay.
mechanism for training. I'm just getting into it myself, but
Right.
to build a library, like I just did one quick thing last week to show my VA how to do a glass claim. I did it myself, sent it to her. Now she's trained. She has something to reference on. So that's
I
something
like
you can
that.
check out. Yeah. So with there's so many moving parts. You're gonna be trying to hire people really quickly. So now you're gonna be in charge of training, or your partner is,
Yep.
and selling.
Onboarding, training. Yeah.
How are you marketing to grow and to get new business, and how are you trying to find leads for your producers?
So we have different. Everyone does their own choices, right? You got different pillars. We'll call them. Marketing channels is another way to say it. So we focus on three channels. We focus on leads as a third. And then a third is doing center of influence, which is mortgage brokers, connecting, networking, all of that stuff, friends, family, just you being out there. And then a third of it is being social media style. So our goal is to teach the agents to build their own social media, to build their own network, to build their own. We're going to give them a lead source to call from, and we'll buy them leads and stuff like that. The lead part is easy for us because that was my whole life pre all of this, right? Partner as well. So like that stuff we get when to email, when to text, when our CRM does this. That's probably one of our secret sauces, I guess you could say. It's not
Yeah.
secret, but we're good at it.
It's your strength. It's one of your strengths.
Yes.
Yeah.
And each agent, I know this is harder to scale, but each agent isn't good at one thing usually, right? So
Yeah.
one agent hates social media and he's good at dialing leads, or
Yeah.
he's good at networking. And so it's not a set in place. You have to do a third, a third, a third. Maybe it's 40% networking, 30% doing leads, and then 30% or whatever the leftover percentage is doing social media. So whatever their strengths are, we want to kind of lean towards that person to build on those strengths. More importantly, what we're going to do is, like I said, this isn't all laid out yet, but our goal is to eventually teach our agents to become their own kind of agency, or at least the knowledge of it, to where, well, the natural step is like, oh, I'll go start my own. But we want to build it inside of our agency so that they can branch onto us. So now
Yeah.
the Valor brand is the brand that is always there. So they can say, I'm a Valor agent. So anyone that wants to join us in the future, if we ever open that up, that's a long ways away of thinking, then here's the box. Here's what you need to do. Plug it in. We're going to spend several months with you building it. Let's show you how to do it. And now you've got an agency that you're branded with us directly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I like it. Plus, you can give them the tools, and by that point, as you grow, you're going to refine your process of adding producers on. You're going to get better at that. What does the customer support look like? Are these producers just going to be producing? Are they going to be servicing as well? A little bit of both up front, or
yeah, so right now our process is for a new agent, the first quarter of a mil, the first 250,000 you write, you service it yourself. We want one thing I learned when I was a trainer as well at the last agency. So I put all the videos and everything together. And one thing I noticed was the new people, to get the right person, you can only afford so much, as at least
yeah,
at a starting level, right? So you're going to get more likely a new guy that isn't crushing it, that doesn't know how to do this stuff, and it's going to take a few months to get up and running. That person will, if you teach them incorrectly, which I feel like that's one thing I changed when we started our own agencies. We're like, we want them to be successful, not just today. We want them to understand what happens when you write a bad piece of business. So
yeah,
now you're chasing documents and you're chasing phone calls and you're almost spinning your wheels, getting frustrated. But then that teaches you to not do that in the future, right? So once you've gotten to a certain book size and it's manageable where we can pass it off to a service person, then we actually have right now we have a part-time service manager that helps us with all that. But until they get to that level, we want them servicing their own.
yeah. And I think it's good. It's good to learn all sides of the business too and how it works. If you don't, if
Yep.
it gets your hands into a little bit of claims, what
Yep.
that looks like, policy changes, what that looks like, and that helps. That so when you actually, maybe relay that information, gives you a better understanding of what that service person is going to be dealing with. You have to know. You have to know all positions. Makes
Yeah.
you more well, and it makes you a more well-rounded salesperson.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly. That's one of the things I actually just learned it because it was quicker for me when you get good at a program, it's sometimes quicker just to do it yourself than it is. And I did that at Farmers in 21st as I was making changes on my own without sending them, like you could just pass them off to the service department, but it's like, I'm already in here. Da, 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 you're all set.
Yeah.
Right. Once
Yeah.
you learn like those little ins and outs, you start to realize like, okay, if I'm selling the person that has 5 DUIs and da 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 da, as a sales guy, I just want to sell it and move it on. Like, yeah, you take care of it.
Yeah.
But if I got to service it and like, oh, he's calling me 7 times a day and like, oh, I got to skip this payment. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then you're constantly working on one customer that you wish you would have never sold. You'll stop selling those types of leads.
Yeah. Yeah. You figure it out.
There's
Um,
companies that are good for them, just not our agency isn't built for that.
so since opening up your independent agency, what have some of the biggest challenges been for you and your partner?
A lot of it is not so much like agreeing on things because we're pretty in sync with everything. You've got your standard, I want this way and you want that way. We kind of come together pretty well. But I think a lot of it is the marketing is always going to be the biggest problem, right? So on and it's focusing on the activities that make money, right? Because it's
Yeah,
a business. It's not just hey, I want to help grow this guy. It's like if I don't get him successful, I can't keep him, right? Or
yeah,
if I don't start selling a couple, I can't, do this. It's a lot of just balancing that and getting the marketing out there, getting people to come into you and see who you are, let alone just writing the business in general.
yeah. Well, you're doing two jobs at one time.
Yeah.
You're you're growing the business, but you're also building a business. That's why I love what you're doing because, and this is a lot of what I've been talking about and working with people, is that you are a business owner and a producer at the same time.
Hmm.
And you're going to have to be that way, like that for a while, to
Sure. Yeah.
survive for
Yeah.
income.
First 2 to 3 years at least.
Yeah.
And even
So
then, you'll still always kind of be there because you'll have created your own sub little network going on, so people will always come to you at
correct.
some level.
So that's a challenge and it's a balancing act. And I know you have a family.
Hmm.
So you can't work 70
Got
hours
to
a
balance.
week and take care of people at home too. So it's all a challenge, man. I can't believe you
Yeah,
still have I can't believe you don't have any gray hair yet.
I got a little bit somewhere in my mustache, I guess.
Let's shift gears a little bit to the YouTube side of things.
Sure.
So you've been a YouTube partner since 2015. So that's, 8 years.
Yeah.
Um, you have three different channels. Tell me a little bit about your background with YouTube, why you got into it, and how it's evolved, and how it's helped your business.
Yeah, honestly, the initial thought, so what I thought I was going to create and what I'm doing are a little bit different than where I thought I would be. The f- so if we're talking about the Think Insurance YouTube channel, honestly, if you ever type anything insurance, my goal, and it actually kind of half has been achieved, is you type anything insurance, I pop up.
Yeah,
Right, the first 3 or 5 videos should be me.
that's how I found you
Yeah.
because you kept showing up when I would
Yep.
when I would search different topics. You kept showing up, so I subscribed.
Yeah. Well, and it started by like, okay, I was already like doing different things. I did some YouTube things and I tried different ways to monetize YouTube and all that stuff. And I was like, maybe I can create a career out of this.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, I either do insurance or YouTube. And I kind of played with it and I found that insurance and YouTube were a good mix together. So as I was kind of on the half out, half in on whether I was staying at the farmers locations, I was realizing that I don't have any control over anything. I literally clock in, make the sales, clock out. Yeah, I'm good at it,
Yeah,
but I don't actually have a value to be in my seat besides the sales part, which great, everybody needs a salesperson. But at the end of the day, there's 100,000 salespeople out there.
yeah,
Right. And I
yeah,
noticed that they were transitioning some of our calls over to different departments that were hybrids of us who could sell and service, but they were getting a lower salary. So it's like, okay, financially, it's actually costing them money to have me sell so much.
yeah,
Yes, I'm the carrot that people chased at that company. And that kind of promoted, like motivated other people to do well. But then I started to slowly see that they were transitioning like, okay, well, what if we didn't need a carrot? And what if we did do like, so now I'm not as valuable. And I started to notice that.
mm,
And I was thinking, okay, well, if I go over to an agency, where's the value there? Another sales position and maybe management and ownership and all of that stuff. But I still got to scratch to get the business. I still got to beg them to give me a lead and all of those things. And so what I decided to do is I was like, I wonder if I can get my own and maybe I'll talk to agents and all of this stuff and I'll start generating them. So I made a video online about insurance and that actually turned out to be my first video was my best video so far.
really,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. So
Wow.
it's kind of funny. It's I don't remember what it's at now. I might have surpassed it with some other ones, but last time
Do,
I checked it had a few 100,000 views.
wow. Do you know what? Do you recall what that was about?
It was like an insurance 101.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one that surpassed it, I made it, but instead of being a half hour long, I made it in 15 minutes. So I redid it and made it shorter and quicker and same stuff, but just a faster version of it. So as I learned to edit and all that stuff.
Do you look at it now? Most people say this, when you look at your video, your initial videos, and whether it's the editing or the lighting or whatever, and go, oh, I can't even believe I put that out.
Yeah. Well, I look at it and it was a green screen in the background, so it was this really cool looking house that wasn't mine, and my arms would cut off if I went this. But you see, every once in a while, my hand disappears, and
Yeah.
they're like, "That's a
Okay. So
green screen."
I'm sorry. Continue. So that was the beginning of it, your very first video, which went well.
Yes. So and I slowly did it. Like I did one, and I got a little bit of interact. I mean, I say it's 100,000, couple 100,000 views today, but it was maybe 100 then, right? And so I was like, oh, that's cool. Maybe once a month I'll make one. And then it ended up being once every 3 months I would make a video. And then eventually it started to get more traction. People were starting to view them more. And then I quickly realized, like, oh, there's something here. And then I just started doing once a week, then twice a week. And then I can kind of do on and off. Like it's been 2 weeks since I posted, but I can post every as much as I can, as much as I have time for now.
Okay. Okay.
So
So that grew, and so you monetized. You recall? So that in the start, was that about 2015 when you
yeah, I
started?
actually it might even been I can look it up later, but
Yeah.
it might even been earlier than that. Because I
Okay.
think technically the channel started in 2011
Okay.
or
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
2000 something, but there's zero videos on it for like 3 years, and then like one random video just pops up.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. So you became a partner in 2015. That's what I was focusing on. So
Okay,
you
yes, I think so.
okay.
Been a while.
I thought I saw that, or maybe I think I
That
read
might
that
be
on.
accurate. I've never
Okay.
actually looked it up, but it sounds pretty
I think
accurate.
I got on your LinkedIn. I don't know if it's right or not.
Yes.
So, okay, so your intention there was really just, oh, you were thinking maybe I can make something out of this, maybe earn a little bit on the side. So what did your monetization look like? Because you did start to pump out a few videos a week that you've gotten,
Mhm.
tens of thousands of views on a number of your videos. Um, what
Yeah.
did that look like from a monetization standpoint?
Sure. So, from a YouTube monetization standpoint, it was initially to go back to answer one thing too.
Yeah,
So, when I first started posting those videos, I had a sub thought like, okay, if they don't pick up and they're not successful, at least I can help somebody. That was
yeah,
initially the whole thought of it. And then I can wash my hands and walk away, and at least I've given some benefit out there, right? Well, I think that's part of the reasons they were successful because it was focused on the person. And so doing that, it grew into $100 a month and then $500 a month.
mm,
And then it really started taking off when I started doing the one a week. Then I realized, okay, I can turn this into an income. And I started doing one a week, and that eventually got up to $1,200 a month.
wow,
And I thought
wow.
that was like, I made it, right?
Well, it's a nice little side gig, right?
Yeah. Well, and it was a choice I made, and I think this honestly, I break it back to a choice about 3.5, 4 years ago, to where it was at the end of the year and it was tax time, and I was sitting there saying, "Okay, I need a new car. I'm driving a 1995 Malibu or '93 Malibu or whatever the case is that was like super cheap. It was okay shape, no air conditioning, like." So I'm like, all right, this is my
A
life
beater.
right now. I'm
Yeah,
training people at this agency and like all of that stuff and driving this horrible car. And I had $5,000 in the account because it was extra money. I didn't need anything to do with it.
yeah,
And I was like, okay, I can buy a nice car. It's tax time. I don't want to give it to the government, like all that stuff, right?
yeah.
So the key piece, and I tell people this all the time, is where I made the decision to buy a camera, a lens, and some audio equipment. So I spent that $5,000 almost on camera equipment
Okay.
for the YouTube channel. And literally the next month after doing that, not that that made the difference, but it was kind of the commitment of doing it.
Yep.
Once I did that, that next month it went over $2,000 a month.
Wow.
Okay. And then it peaked out between $5,000 and $6,000 a month. So it
Wow.
was,
Wow.
yeah, and eventually it started getting to like 80,000 a year, and there's money there, and it was just ads. It was eventually, it's died off lately because insurance companies are not marketing right now, so it fluctuates a lot. Like I can make 6 grand in a month, and I can make $600 in a month. So I
Mhm.
don't want to count on it
Yeah.
because it's so unstable right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is, it wasn't that way until just recently when, if you read some of the articles, a lot of these agencies, your State Farms and your Allstate and your Geicos, they cut their budget for marketing
Yeah, I did
by
see
a
that.
third,
Yeah.
right? So one month they might go heavy, one month they might do nothing. So it just depends on what. Now I'm relying on YouTube's AdSense to pay me. I did have a affiliate for a while. I had a sponsorship that was helping. That was giving me, a couple extra $1,000 a month.
Mhm.
It's got 450 leads coming in the door a month plus every month. So there's a lot of like benefits that come in. The the bad business owner in me, I don't do anything with any of it. So I've got like 400 leads that I can't even do anything. They're just sitting there. So I've got like, I'm trying to figure out how to connect people to the leads, like without getting spammers in there. And so like I'm trying to find markets to put them and things like, so there's a lot of work to be
Mhm.
done. But to be honest with you, 90% of my focus is on the Valor brand. So
Yeah.
I'm not putting all of
Like
my
it should be.
focus there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be now. You can't,
Yes.
you gotta let that go. I mean, and I imagine you do have a passion for the YouTube piece. I mean, that's part of it, right? We
I
enjoy
love
it.
it. Yeah.
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 That's where I started my other channel, which is more agent focused. So that's where, that's actually was my original thought, was to teach agents how to sell and stuff like that, which you'll notice some of my old videos were selling how to sell.
Yep.
But that's not the path that YouTube led me down. So I ended up redoing it this last year to where I do more of the day in the life and things like that.
Yeah. So for those out there, the channels are Think Insurance, which has been around for a long time. And have you kind of put that on the back burner a little bit with this other
It's on
stuff going?
autopilot.
Okay.
I still
Yeah.
try to do one a week
Okay,
minimum.
1 week. Oh, that's
Yep.
good. That's yeah, that's going. Okay. So that's more of the educational channel. That's just all insurance together. He has the Valor Insurance, which is his current insurance company, which is more of a, a marketing play that he says keeps local. And then it's Mark W. Flockhart, which is more specifically for insurance agents, which our audience is all insurance agents primarily. So
Right.
that would be a good one to check out, and get some ideas on. And he does quality stuff if you want to check any of that out. How I want to touch on the leads piece of it. So are those just people that have reached out to you because of, the video that you put out? Is
Mhm.
it okay? So do you have any sort of landing page that they hit, or is that just something in the comments, or how
Yes.
is that coming in?
So if you want to learn a little bit more, like the detail, the key piece to it is, if you go to the Mark W. Flockhart channel, there's a video called web form I created. Um, Maybe one day I'll put it up for people to download. It took me a couple weeks to build, but the what I'm actually proud of is the leads that are coming in. I think last month was like 430, and the month before was like 450 or something like that. They're highly filtered leads too. They're not
Mhm.
just give me your name and phone number. I probably would have like 700 coming in. I would go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
but but it's highly filtered into that form. So if you go to thinkinsuranceguide.com, that's like the worst website you'll ever see, made by me 8 years ago, that I haven't touched and I don't care about. But
Yeah.
that's where they land. That's where they go to.
Okay.
They see the super semi-professional, kind of like, this guy made it in his basement website, which perfectly aligns with my channel because I'm quirky there, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, let's talk. And even the haters on the comments, I respond to them with all these funny things because that's me. Like,
Yeah.
oh, look at his mustache, it's crooked. I'm like, yeah, I was gonna do it the other way. Like, oh, his hair should be this. I'm like, yeah, I was gonna either do a Asian look and try to get a bun, and right. So
Yeah. Mine go after my teeth usually. It's pretty
yeah,
good.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. It's like, "Oh,
whatever.
well," I was like, "Oh, you should see me eat an apple." Like, I would
Yeah.
respond to those things. It's like so it's like, whatever, I just take it as it comes, and I
Yeah,
don't erase anything. Just let them keep it up, and as long as they're not marketing their own like, if they put their phone number and say I'm an agent, I just delete it. I ban
yeah,
the person from the channel, then I let that go.
yeah.
But I built that Think Insurance Guide, website, and then on there, it's /best quote is the actual thing, and that leads you to the quote page, and that's the
Okay.
link in my YouTube videos. So they go there, and it asks them to choose what they want. So they can pick home, auto, umbrella,
Yeah,
motorcycles, boats, all like there's 20 choices. And depending on what they choose, it adds questions to the film form. So, and then it says how many drivers they pick
yeah,
five. It drops five windows
yeah.
down. Now they can fill out all five. Like it's
So
interactive.
they filled out a quote form.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So they're filling out a full quote form. And then, yeah, I get about 450 of those, or 400 to 450 a month.
a month, which is
Yeah.
probably from all over the country.
All over the US. Yeah. A lot of Florida, Texas, New York, some California, just kind of a mix. The only ones I actually work on are Michigan, and then my partner's license in Indiana, Ohio, and a couple other states. So, like, those ones we try to take in house, but I would say 90% of them, they just kind of sit there.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I think I have some ideas for that.
Okay.
Um,
I'll take it.
I mean, it sounds crazy. Most are going to say, "What? What are you doing?"
I
Um,
know. I could get licensed in all the states, but like I said, we want to own our backyard first. It's going to be probably a year or two before we even like look at doing something like that.
well, let me ask you this: the ones that you get, I mean, they filled out a long form.
Yes.
They're quality leads. Would you say they're quality leads? Would you purchase this lead? From someone else, or
Yeah.
the ones that you were getting? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's
There's still leads. So there's still people that needed help with a question like, hey, maybe some of the videos I don't put the link on. So if I do a video about DUIs, I'm going for views, right?
yeah,
Not necessarily leads. And so, like, I don't
yeah,
put the link there. Sometimes they find me anyways. They watch the next video and there's a link on that one.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you're still going to get like the lead style, right? You're going to get the people
yeah,
that want help with a situation, right? There's a lot of, I'd probably say a third of them are foreign, right? So there's like, no one's teaching them what to do. So they're going to YouTube and finding the answers. A third of them are really good leads. Like, you want every one of them. And about a third of them are just kind of seeing what happens when they fill out the form, right?
yeah. But
It's
that's
like,
a long form to fill out. I mean,
yeah,
for somebody who's really not interested, that's why I like the long form piece.
yes,
If you had a short form, that's real easy to go, Daffy Duck, here's my phone number,
yep,
daffy@gmail.com. You get a lot of that.
yes.
But a long form, that's a little bit of a commitment.
Did that on purpose. Yeah, because I didn't want as many. I would rather have a quality person or someone that has intent to go over it, talk, or at least get some information versus, like, if you go to our actual website, that we have the short one because we're small. We want people to talk to.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
just give me your name and number. I'll call you right now. Right.
Well, if you
But
get any
there, I'm like,
Minnesota or
fill it out.
Wisconsin leads, I know where you can send them. That's amazing. I offline we're gonna talk. I want to talk more about that.
Sure.
That's fantastic. Um, how has I think we've already touched on it, but how has the YouTube marketing impacted your business? Now your business is, really only, just over a year in the making. Do you notice more hits to your website? You're getting leads. That's a
Yes.
strong impact. In your words, I guess, how has the YouTube impacted your insurance business?
So I actually take every Monday. It's all social. Like, it's all
Mm.
some sort of connecting. Uh, Depending on the Monday, like half of yesterday was just people wanted quotes, right? So I focus on the income and producing activities
Have to.
first. So if those come in, they take priority.
Yeah.
But because that's why I'm doing it all, is to get people to interact. So a lot of it's the brand building, but so we're doing it all. We're doing Facebook, we're dumping on Instagram, and we're dumping on TikTok. Like, same, might as well, right? Just throw it on one platform, let it send it to the other companies. We are doing a lot of forums on long form videos, kind of similar to the Think one, but we're gearing it more towards homeowners on the Valor brand because that's the type of client that wants.
Yeah.
right? So it's not we're getting a way lower view count because we're trying to get Michigan only and we're trying to get that homeowner, right? So that's our primary focus.
So how do you target Michigan only? Is it keywords? Are you running small paid ads? How are you doing that?
Mostly keywords is finding what people are looking for. So it's a little bit of research, trying to figure out, okay, what are the topics people are talking about in Michigan? What is unique to a home in Michigan? Why would someone want to live in Grand Rapids? Why, like some of it's not even insurance. Like, hey, you'll see we have shorts as well.
Yeah.
And you'll see, we went to this place called Chicken and Cone, right? Made a quick short little video about it. And it's like a 16-second clip. So it's kind of tying us to those local companies
Yes.
as well, where we're trying to branch off. That's more of like the Facebook world versus because Facebook is more that networking site versus the YouTube is more search based. So
Yes.
in YouTube, we want the keywords, we want those things. So if people do search new home in Michigan, how do what's unique about like very rare that it's searched, but if they do, we want to show up.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you run any brand awareness ads or anything like that?
Not
Yeah,
yet.
good.
No, we're going to test a few on Facebook. We've got a little strategy that we want to do, but we're not looking to be the stars there.
Okay. Okay. No, but I mean, even on YouTube, it's been a few years since I've run.
Yeah, I ran one ad once on YouTube. It did really well, actually. I don't
Yeah.
know why I never ran it again, but
Yeah. Well, I know, but that's a good way to target locally.
yes.
If it's just run in your area, and you can do that relatively cheap, I think.
Yes.
Um,
Probably right now more than any time because like I said, your State Farms and your Allstates and your big
mhm,
guys, the guys that can put $10 million behind it, aren't putting $10 million behind it right now.
yeah.
So they're taking a little bit of a back step on those.
Yeah. Now, as far as your videos, are you doing what type of equipment are you using for those as far as both the camera equipment, lighting, editing?
I'm a little bit of a tech snob. So I I want it to be as unprofessional but professional as possible.
Okay.
So, like, number one is personality has to come across. If you don't have personality, no one wants to even watch the video in the first place.
Yeah.
So, I get straight to the point, start talking about it, try to give examples, try to make it relatable, right? Get the hook, all of the things that you can watch on any how to do YouTube video that teaches you that stuff, right? So, those are the focus. But as far as the tech goes, I do have an A7S3, the $3,500 mirrorless camera, and it does have a $900 lens on it and all of that stuff, and I've got like all of the equipment for it. Oddly enough, I got a $40 mic, which out of all of that, I spent all the money on that, and the mic was as long as it sounds good, right?
Yeah, right. That's all that matters. Right.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a mix of all that. And like right now, actually, for the longest time, I use this thing. This is a newer NW7000. It's basically a $28 microphone that plugs into your computer, and it sounds amazing, right? So
Okay.
it's like
Hmm.
knowing that you don't have to necessarily spend a lot. If I were to start over, I probably would say $1,500 would do as good as my current setup.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I did tech wise, it sounds weird, but my favorite tech piece, apart from the actual recording equipment, is I bought this arm from Amazon that you just like a monitor stand you put on the back of your desk, and it's just a pole that goes straight up, has a spot for my camera, has a spot for a ring light, has a
Yeah.
spot for a monitor. And so I literally just sit down in the chair when I'm ready to talk and I just hit record.
Yeah. So that's what I mean, because most of your videos are in a room, so that's what it is. You have your
Yep.
stand set up. Okay.
Yep. And I got the lighting and all that. If you do it 5 years, you're going to start doing that stuff, right? You
Yeah.
start with the webcam day one, you start doing it, you get clicks to the videos, you realize nobody's watching it because the quality's poor. So then you upgrade to the next camera. Maybe you're doing your cell phone now and you tape it to your monitor. Who cares? Like, just make it work, you know? So, and then, eventually before you know it, you've got a nice setup to where you're just a full-fledged, you're just
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you doing your own editing?
Yes. Yep. I did hire an editor for a little while, but then I As I saw YouTube's monetization start to drop a little bit, I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
I'll just do it myself again.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So that stuff really matters. I mean, your camera matters. I know the audio really matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get away with anything below 720 anymore. If you're not doing 720p, you're not like people. It starts to get to that level. Yes, if you're doing podcast, nobody cares, so you can turn it into a podcast. But if you're doing any type of video, you'll get people that'll watch it. But will they insurance? Will they know, like, and trust you if they can't see your like you're all
Yeah.
blurry? So you've got to have some sort of like quality to it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. Last question for you today. Where, what areas would you like to improve on with Valor Insurance in 2023?
I think the biggest piece is the main focus is to get as many people up and running. So we got the new guy coming in now. We're going to hire another one by the end of the year. So everything lines on whether they are successful,
Mhm.
right? We'll survive if they're not, but it doesn't move us forward if they aren't, right? So the biggest thing that we're focusing on is how do we get them to understand the level of sales without being, I'll sell anything, right? So we're trying to find that sweet spot to where we can train somebody, but not just be the answer book for them either.
Yeah.
So I think scaling the employees is the biggest thing. And then having those procedures written down for that is probably what I would say.
Yeah. It's huge. I mean, you just listed two things, but those are two really big things.
Yeah. Like I can go out and market. Like I could stand on the street and people would notice who we are. So like it's just what you're willing to do, whether you want to
Yeah.
pay for it or go take the time and do it. So marketing is there. It's just that's not as much of a struggle as having once you get the person in and they are interested, now what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch you grow, and I'm going to stay in touch with you because I'm really interested to see how this turns out. I like the direction you're heading. Um, yeah, I think it sounds great. I'm a little envious.
We're either going to grow fast or fail hard. One of the two. You can watch it on the
But you're
channel.
going to
You
go
can
do
see
it. You're going to go do it. I love it. Hey, thanks a lot for taking the time today. This was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and really happy to connect with you. So everybody else, thank you for listening in to another episode of the Agents to Owners podcast, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.